This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
It is 10:07 at WPSL, 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast. It is 9/11. Do you remember where you were on that fateful 9/11 day? I remember where I was. We were in the airport manager's office of Melbourne International when the first plane hit. And at that point in time, the manager, Jim Johnson, told me, get out of this building. We are locking it down within 5 minutes. And that's exactly what I did. And, of course, our Ed Birchfield and our great news director, Charlie Neild, were absolutely phenomenal. So that was our memory of 9/11. Let's go to the newsmaker phones. Mike King in Las Vegas, Charles Moskowitz in Boston. And, Charles, I got to tell you, this hurricane is going to be something in the Carolinas, and I would imagine it's going to keep heading north, and you're going to get a lot of rain this weekend.
Well, my attitude is it's better than snow. You don't have to shovel rain.
Yeah. That's true. Well, Mike doesn't have to worry about any of that in Las Vegas. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have the best weather in the world.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Well, Mike.
No clouds.
Yeah. Well, Michael, what is happening Vegas-wise? I was watching. Was it Bloomberg or something where they were talking about kind of a resurgence in business in Las Vegas?
Well, it's very busy, no question about it. And the casinos have all upgraded themselves, so it's like coming to new buildings.
Wow. Interesting.
They've spent a lot of money making everything first class.
Yeah. Wow.
And we just got an MGM in Springfield, opened 2 weeks ago.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
So now, how close is Massachusetts to allowing legalized gambling?
Well, first of all, let's go back a step and say they've already legalized recreational pot.
So if pot's legalized, gambling can't be too far behind? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we have now this casino, MGM, in Springfield, which is in the western end of the state. We have, I guess they're going to call it Encore instead of the Wynn, which is due to open. I mean, they're building it right now. It's $1 billion deal, and it's literally 10 minutes north of the city of Boston. And then there's the joint that they still haven't made a firm decision on for the tribal casino down in Taunton, which is about, half hour, 40 minutes from where I'm sitting. In the meantime, if I'm going to guess it's going to be like Starbucks and not grocery, but drugstore chains. They will so dramatically overbuild it that it will cannibalize itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go to the joint down in Connecticut as fast as I can go out to the western end of the state, time-wise. It's about the same distance. I read the statistic. This is probably going to be a tremendous boon for the state because the state writes 66% of its traffic tickets for speeding between Boston and the other end of the pike. So I'm going to guess they're going to capitalize on that as much as they are the gambling.
Yes, no doubt about it. So yeah, because there's really not much going on in your area of the country except the Red Sox.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and they are such a pleasure to watch. I mean, frankly, I would not like to see them come up against the Astros because they are remarkably strong.
They are.
They have the second best American League record, and it's only a couple of percentage points, but beneath the Red Sox. And they took us 2 out of 3 in this past week or weekend or whatever you want to say, and it was pretty interesting. By the way, I wanted to go to the golf tournament 2 weeks ago here.
Oh yeah,
at TPC, and when I went to buy my tickets, they were looking for volunteers. So I volunteered for any committee and ended up, inside the rope, which was without any question the best place to watch the tournament.
Wow.
And it was pretty exciting, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that it happened, that Thursday and Friday it was, 98 degrees, but Saturday and Sunday while I was there, it was 70, 72, and it was just so much fun.
Very cool.
And it saved me $220.
That's great. Yeah, it's funny. Of course, being in the media, I've covered a million golf tournaments, and you're always inside the ropes, and you don't think of the volunteers, but it takes several hundred volunteers to pull off even a small tournament. Yeah.
And when I signed up, they ask for what committee you'd like to be on.
Uh-huh.
And all I could say was any committee, any committee, any committee for my 3 choices because I had no clue. But, it's amazing. Several hundred volunteers.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, wow, that sounds great. And, of course, Mike will be getting, I just saw some video of the new Raiders stadium in Las Vegas. So, yeah, it's going to be a very...
When does that open?
Next year.
Next year.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's that's going to be exciting. It was. I noticed they had packed a house in Oakland last night, but like Jacksonville, though, that entire top segment of the stadium was all canvassed. So they have dropped the attendance figures for the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, which has got to be.
Well,
it was a bad place.
Let's call a spade a spade. I went to that Coliseum when I moved to San Francisco in 1976.
Yep.
And it was pretty crappy then.
Yep, and I was just going to say that. I mean, I when I got out of Los Angeles television news, which was 25 years ago, and of course we went there with the Dodgers during the World Series in '88, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this place is a dump, and that was 25 years ago, and they're still playing
exactly.
in it.
And frankly, it wasn't in the best neighborhood. I mean, I never took the car there. I only took BART from San Francisco, from the city where I lived.
Oh, well, you guys over there are elitists in San Francisco anyway.
Okay.
You never felt safe in Oakland. I know that. Oh.
Well.
Oh,
and
man.
if you lived through any of the earthquakes,
yes,
you now would know why, on top of everything else, Oakland was a crappy place to be.
Yes.
But, they're just like anything else. With the expansion of Silicon Valley to San Jose and across the bay and further north, property values in Oakland are out of sight. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's like here, Cambridge was okay. Belmont was good. But then when you got to the other side of the highway, Everett, Medford, Malden, they were pretty crappy. Well, my kid just is in the real estate business now. He's, he's a broker.
Yeah.
And he's telling me about places in Somerville and Everett that are $1.1 million, $1.2 million. I mean, of course, you have to realize that that's easy commuting distance to the seaport where GE will have its headquarters, and it's right ground zero for, the Wynn Casino and, 50,000 jobs between the building and the service employees over there. So, a lot of these places are dramatically changing, and, you can only fall back on one simple thing. With the exception of Hawaii, they're not making any more real estate.
Right. Yes. That's true. Cat volcano just keeps kicking. Yeah. No doubt
okay,
about it.
I want to talk about the market letter and the trading, and we've been doing really well in it. We caught this move to the downside in the oil by being long an inverse ETF with a couple of dollars profit. We're also long right now Facebook, which is, I would have said 15 or 20 minutes ago, the only FANG stock up, but now the rest of them are catching up to it, and it's up about 2.25. The market letter had two videos in it. One about Box, that was my personal video that I wanted to show people rather than just explain it to them, and of course there was one on my cover sheet going out. But I think that it's also important for people to understand before they subscribe how the service works. It relies on initiation of positions at or near support. I don't buy the breakouts. I buy the support. That gives me a much better risk-reward profile in that, for example, I'm in a new position today, as of actually yesterday and the letter, in Bristol Myers. Bristol Myers has had a nice run, but it's it's in a consolidation. So we bought calls for not September, but for October 62.5, and we bought them in an area where if the stock were to go down $1.50, we'd be out of the calls. On the other hand, if the stock continues in its rally, well, I'll be selling them some as it's breaking out because we'll be up 100%. So the thing is that you have to understand that this service is really more of a longer-term service. You shouldn't be spending the money if you figure you're going to sign up and, in 3 trades, triple your money and, go away. That's not the way that this works. We work it on a year-over-year basis. We've had exactly one down quarter in the last 5 years, and we've never had a down year. So, people have to realize that, this is not a short term. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And our performance shows exactly why. A couple of things that I want to mention about options trading is, they can be rather volatile, and most people lose money in them. The reason that most people lose money in them is because they do the same thing in options that they do in gambling or anything else where they over-participate, they over-trade. When we have a $10,000 account, $10,000 per unit, in the options account, what we're doing is we're carrying as many as 8 or 10 positions, although that's actually quite rare. But we're starting each position with only 7 or 8% of the equity. So in other words, in a $10,000 account, all of our positions start at roughly $600 to $800. I may add to them, I may sell some on our 100% up rule, but that's the way that we do it. It's also important to understand that when we do that and the account makes money, we still continue to do it that way. Right now, the account is up 82%, which means that a $10,000 account has $18,200 in total equity. We still start with 7 or 8% of the $10,000 account. We don't roll up. It's almost as if we do roll up, it's almost as if you're playing double or nothing. And it may work today, and it may work for the next month. At some point in time, you're going to have an overtraded, outsized position that's going to go to zero or just not work. And so, we're very disciplined that way. And we have the texting service so that, I'm sitting on top of it all day, every day, which most people not only won't, but can't do. And so, I think that it's important for people to understand exactly the way that we trade. So all that said, we're up 80%, 82%. We're in a couple of very good positions. And in the coming months, I'm going to be doing more and more videos, both about the specific situations that we're involved with and general knowledge on how. I mean, if you look, Greg, at what we've done in the past, this is the next logical progression. Initially, all we did was put out the numbers, buy this, do that at a price. And then from that, we morphed into, okay, buy this or do that at this price, and here's why. So we've gone from furnishing orders to furnishing orders and explaining the rationale behind them. And the next step is to be on the educational side where we're showing people how to do it. Some people would think, well, you're self-defeating. That's not true, because as much time as I spend or Mike spends between the day-to-day trading and putting together the market letter, most people just don't have time for that. I mean, if you're an executive and you have a job, or you're driving for Uber, or no matter what you're doing, chances are you don't have the time, even if I can teach you the expertise. So that's the direction that we're going with this. It is, a phenomenal value for what it is, and it's been successful. You can't argue with 5 years. If you do that, guys like, some of the hedge fund guys who have a bad year or a bad 9 months or whatever and lose their traders, most of those types of funds, hedge funds, have a lockup period. You put it in, be prepared to stay for 2 years. I'm saying if you trade with us and you have a subscription, you need to realize that, again, a bad quarter here and there, a drawdown in equity is almost inevitable a couple of times a year. But the fact of the matter is, every year we've made a profit. The smallest profit we've made in the last 5 years was 67%. The biggest was 284%.
Oh, man.
Those are just the facts.
Wow.
So,
well, what you got to do, too, Charles, is make sure that when you do these videos, make sure you send a copy to our WPSL TV at Gmail.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll put it up on YouTube.
And the fact is, I have my own YouTube channel.
Oh, there you go.
That's where I upload them to YouTube, number one. Number two, I tend to distribute them to all of our subscribers and even some of the people who, are trial subscribers. And, they go out on Instagram and they go out on my Twitter account, and this is all under a different name. It's not Princeton Research. It's called Great Wise Oz, GreatWizeOz, the man behind the curtain.
Chris Anderson.
Good morning, Chris Anderson.
And speaking of the man behind the curtain, holy smokes,
Good morning,
Chris.
gentlemen.
Stranger. Yeah, it's been a while. How are things in British Columbia?
Well, they're warm and a little rainy.
Yeah, warm and rainy.
But
it's always.
are we on the air now, Mike?
Yeah, you are on the air. What do you mean? It's always rainy in British Columbia.
No, not always. But, hey, listen, first of all, my condolences to all the families and everybody from 9/11.
Yes, sir.
It's this time of the year, it's always a special thought, warm thoughts go out to all those families and everybody that was involved in that. That was just horrific.
Yeah,
Horrific.
You
I
know,
remember the morning when I woke up and saw that. It was just
yeah. You. I don't know if you had a chance to watch 60 Minutes this past weekend, but the first responders and the FBI agents. And like helicopter pilots for the police and stuff like that. 7,500 people who were first responders after the Twin Towers fell have passed away from various forms of cancer. And it's amazing when you think about it that you lose, 3,500 the day of the event, but an additional 7,500 picked up some form of cancer from whatever was inside those buildings, and that's a tough one. It's and I don't care whether you're up where you are in British Columbia or any other place in the world. That was a horrible day. There's no doubt about it. And thank you very much for mentioning that.
Yeah, well, I thought about that as we were going on the show here today, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I explained at the very beginning of the show, I was up at the Melbourne airport trying to re-sign the airport authority up there. And, when I saw the first plane go in, I'm thinking, it was weird. It had to be one of those tourist helicopters or something, right, that got off course and blew into the building. And then the second one went in, and then all of a sudden you hear the sirens inside the airport. Of which there were no flights going in or out of there at the time, but they were preparing for afternoon flights in Melbourne. And the airport manager told me, he said, Greg, you've got 5 minutes to get out of this building. We're locking it down. So, that's where I was during that whole period of time. And, it's amazing. So what's a little bit more pleasant thought, I think, is what's going on at Examen, and I guess you've got other companies going now, and it's been a while since you've been on this show.
Yeah, it has been a little while. Well, we've been working with our joint venture partners. We have two partners that in Examen that are working around us. Examen's got its primary asset, which is called the Brett Project. It's one of the first epithermal discoveries made in southern BC. It was yet unmined. And we now own all our assets in Examen 100%. So we own everything. We don't have any guns at our heads as far as payments or anything like that. We've paid off millions of dollars to acquire all our assets, so we own them all. And I don't know if you guys mentioned, but our trading symbol in the U.S. is XXMMF. And so we have two partners, and we've been working with our joint venture partners over the summer. They've been advancing the projects. One of them is in a small company called New Destiny, and the symbol's NED, trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange. It doesn't have a U.S. symbol yet, but that company is assembling a land package in the Treasure Mountain district. It surrounds the previous producing Haldra silver mine, which was it was just shut down when the silver prices dropped. But it's about 30 clicks away from Copper Mountain, one of the big copper porphyry targets there. But it's got silver and copper, and so they've been doing a little bit of work there. And the one that's really got exciting, because I'm a big gold guy, is GGX, and GGX Gold has been just got its OTC listing and just got its DTC eligibility, and it's just started like literally about a week ago, being able to trade in the United States. And GGX has been drilling all summer, and it's in the Greenwood district. We got in there originally as Examen and optioned the property off to these guys, so we're very significant shareholders in the company, and we've been actively involved in the development of the asset down there. And they made a new discovery it's got multiple high-grade gold veins, and they made one of our guys that's working with us is a gentleman named Alex McPherson, and Alex actually right in the center of the land package there, he mined out the Dentonia mine, which he pulled out about 110,000 tons of 10-gram material. So we know the guys working with us know the area very, very well. And last year, 2017, the guys went in to do some work up on the Gold Drop, which is the main vein, one of the main veins up there that we were working on, and they couldn't get up the hill because they went in a little early and there's still snow on the ground, and the logging companies had gone through there, so the guys wandered off to go look at some logging. They found a little outcrop. And when you're prospecting, it's always good to go into an area that's been logged. You found a little outcrop, and the outcrop was running around, it was close to 30 grams per ton gold. And so they got the excavator in there and trenched open and trenched it for about 160 meters, and they got a nice big fat vein in there, and then they channel sampled that, lots of visible gold at surface, and they got some good gold numbers in the channel samples, and then they before the end of last year, they poked a few holes in there, and we got 16 meters of 4.5 grams and some good silver numbers. And then they shut down for the winter and got back in there this year, and they've just been drilling, and the company's been putting out results every single week. So,
wow.
Examen is a big shareholder, is looking forward to seeing as this thing develops. We're going to put out we'll do a summary on what some of the activities have been over the summer, but they've got this vein they've been chasing. It looks like it's almost reaching a kilometer long, and it's. I think one of the things that the market's been struggling with is that they're as they drill down the vein, you got a kilometer long vein that's about a couple meters wide. I mean, it pinches and swells, so it goes from 1.5 meters can go up to 3.5, 4 meters, right? The guys have been looking at it from an open pit scenario, so where they can just take things in from surface, right, using an air track. And as they're drilling, they get these intercepts that are, a couple meters wide, and they're running some pretty good numbers, and the market hasn't really caught on yet that this thing it's long, and it's all open pitable from surface, right? So, let me just tell you a couple of the last news. They put 1.6 meters at 7.6 grams per ton gold and 60 grams per ton silver, right? The one before that, they put 1.7 meters and 9.5 grams per ton gold and 118 grams per ton silver. The one before that was 54 grams per ton gold over 1.5 meters. The one before that was 50 grams gold over 2 meters. On and on and on. If you go and look at their website there, or check out their stock symbol that they got just trading on the OTC now is GGXXF. That's GG.
Would you say that again?
Yeah, GG X-ray Franco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's amazing. Now, is this area? I see, your map that you had before of Examen, where the Brett Claims area is. Is this all pretty much in the same area of British Columbia?
It's all in southern British Columbia.
Okay,
But
yeah.
this particular area here, what's interesting is that in Washington State, they have a company called Kinross, right? Which was the Buckhorn facility and mill down there just across the border. And this is literally right across the border in the BC side.
Oh, so it is way south. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's right up against the border. Now, Kinross has come in and staked all around and is spending a few $1 million all around the ground here. And this whole belt is staked. It's just literally loaded with crown grants, past producers from the 1930s. There is multiple series of high-grade gold veins in here. And GGX owns a big land position in there, and Examen owns a land position around GGX as well, right here in the district. So we're big shareholders in GGX. So we're very encouraged about what the results that they're getting here. This is only one vein that they've been working on, and there's multiple veins in here.
Wow.
It's not even the veins they wanted to get to, right?
So it's really just due east of Vancouver then, right?
Oh, literally. Well, you know, it's due east of Vancouver, yes, and it's about a 5-hour drive from Vancouver.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, the town here, Greenwood, is one of the you must have heard of the Jesse James gang, did you?
Oh, sure.
Ever heard of the? Well, they used to come and hide out here in Greenwood when they were running around.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go in the museum, there's pictures of the members of the Jesse James gang that hung out up here in Greenwood. It's the smallest incorporated city in Canada. And actually, during the First World War, this was the #1 copper producer. So the railway ran away for all the ammunitions and stuff. This was where a lot of the copper came from in this area here.
So I've got I got a question for you, and of course Charles may want to dive in this too. Silver is what? It's $16 or whatever.
14.
14. Okay.
Yeah.
So how? I mean, how is it cost efficient to even mine that stuff at such a low price?
What? Oh, silver?
Yeah.
Well, silver's just a bonus to this. I mean, the gold.
Yeah, you're missing the
okay.
point here, Greg. The whole issue with mining, especially in this area, is based on the other things that you get attendant to mining. For example, when I was involved with that copper mining company in Milford, Utah, it was copper mining, and it was open pit mining, so none of it was really underground. And the gold and silver that they got as a byproduct actually paid for everything. And the copper, which was their main focus, was the commodity that they sold to make the profit.
Gotcha.
But when you're dealing in, a lot of these minerals, especially in open pit, all of the attendant byproducts are exactly as has been stated. They're a bonus.
Yeah. So
Or
silver.
they cover the, they cover the overhead and make it cheaper to mine the primary.
There you go. So silver for Chris and Examen is just kind of like value added, if you will.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's if you think about it, like in the oil business, they're drilling for oil. The fact that they hit natural gas and they have to flare it off because they don't know what to do with it or capture it is the same type of situation. There are byproducts, or let's just say unintended consequences on the positive side with every phase of mining.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And one of the things here too is when you're looking at this, all the drilling and stuff has been fairly shallow. So everything that was tested at surface originally, they opened up the trench and wanted to confirm that the vein was there. This new vein, it's one of many that are on the property, but this one new vein that they discovered, they got 160 meters they exposed at surface. They channel sampled it, which means they cut across the vein. There was visible gold at surface, okay? And you can look at the numbers; they're pretty good. And then they started drilling. And the guys were talking and said, okay, well, if we're going to open pit this from surface, how far down can we go? So basically, we want to go down maybe 100 feet, right? Because that's easy access, very inexpensive compared to underground mining. So all the drilling on this thing has been fairly shallow, down 60 meters, 70 meters. So you got a vein that's potentially a kilometer long, that's a couple meters wide, and they've been drilling down about 60 meters, and everything is anomalous with gold. As a matter of fact, one of the other interesting things, why do you think a guy like Elon Musk might be interested in a little company like GGX Gold? Any idea?
They're mining for marijuana? No.
No. Very
No.
good, though. Very good. No. They one of the other byproducts in here that the company we put out a little bit of news on is they have Trillium. So I'm looking back at a lot of these. Yeah, they got silver, gold, and Trillium. Trillium's used in solar panels, right?
Sure.
So if you go back and look, they were publishing. We didn't want to confuse the market too much, but that's an extra little, like you were talking about earlier. It's an extra little byproduct, right? And I'm looking at the release here from. This is back in the beginning of July. If you go back, there's one there. There's 67 grams per ton Trillium. 114 grams per ton silver and 8.7 grams per ton gold. Right?
Any cobalt or what's the other one? Lithium?
No, but it's interesting you say that because one of the other companies that's surrounding us is exploring for cobalt. And apparently there is cobalt in the area, but it doesn't mean necessarily that there isn't any here. It just means that the guys perhaps have not analyzed for it, right?
Right.
But we're going for the gold, right? But there's all these other byproducts in here. So when you bring it all adds value, right? It all adds value. So it's an exciting little project. But I think the market is focused on one vein. We got multiple veins, and I think it's the company's looking for a tipping point. And when the market realizes that this is just one of many high-bearing gold veins in this whole little camp that these guys are working on, it's going to be, I think it'll be game on. We need a little help in the market, though, too, eh? Gold's not doing so good.
Well, yeah.
No, but it's the thing is, it's in the process of bottoming. I mean, it could go here from the 1190s to 1150, but that would pretty much wash it out. And, when you're talking about mining, you're talking about obviously much longer term. And so it's at the bottom of a trading range. This is what we were talking about before you came on, about the way that I trade options. You buy it as cheaply as you can buy it because that's the place where you're going to know that you're wrong in your evaluation. But when you're talking about, a long-term product like gold or silver, relative price is just that, relative price. You get into some of these markets that trend, the gold market trends for 5 or 10 years at a time. So, if you're producing it at the bottom end of the range, in the long term, that makes for a great setup to be very profitable. Yeah. I mean, it takes nothing. With the geopolitical messes that we have now and the flight to safety that we have from time to time, then, gold could trend for 5 years and be $1,500 again. So, how do you factor that into a company that's producing it and can afford to produce it at $1,200, getting $1,500 for it? So, that's you have to have the right time frame set up, and you need to know what you're investing in. Trading options on a day-by-day basis is one thing. Mining for gold over a 5, 10, or 20-year period is entirely different.
So was the Chris, was the Elon Musk thing for GGX real or just in the talking stages?
No, I don't know if you know, but Elon Musk runs a big solar panel company.
Oh yeah.
So I was just sort of joking around with you because Trillium's used in solar panels, right?
Sure.
So that's why I said, maybe why would a guy like Elon Musk be interested? Well, because one of the byproducts is Trillium, which is it's one of the sought-after metals that's used in solar panel production, right? And he's got SolarX or whatever the company is that he has running.
Yeah, it's out by Mike King, I think. Isn't it, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. I've seen their trucks here. They advertise on a regular basis about, how they'll do the installation and it won't cost you anything and you'll save X. And, Solar City.
Yeah, that's right. Solar City.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're in the Northeast too?
They're everywhere.
Huh.
They're everywhere.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
But I mean, the guys that we're working with and have been working with here, Alex has already completed one of the mines right in the center here. This is actually this vein here is much like the Dentonia style mineralization that he mined at the Dentonia mine, which is only a few kilometers away from this. And all the stuff that the guys have been looking at is all surface stuff, which is like very inexpensive compared to underground mining. I said that already once. Underground
And
mining,
safer.
right? And safer, yeah. And the other nice thing is that you can't get any land in this area. Everything is staked and tied up, right? We're very fortunate. We got a big land position right in the center of this. We got Kinross staked all around us, working and exploring. We got a Grizzly.
Kinross is a great name.
Exploring. Yeah, they're the Buckhorn facility right across the border. That was one of the most profitable centers for them in all of North America, right? And this land package sits within that Graben Fault, right? It doesn't stop at the border; it continues up, right? So this is all part of that land package. There's another company south of the border that's exploring around where Kinross is. Kinross is looking for feed for their mill. It's on care and maintenance right now, but there's a desperate hunt on for feed, and so we've got there's multiple mills in the area here, so we just got to keep doing our thing and developing some of the resource here, and just keep working, doing our thing, and eventually, as you say, the market's going to pick up, and somebody's going to come along and come knocking on the door, I would imagine, right?
It's funny because most people don't get the difference between buying a company, its stock, or participating in a company that is mining a commodity. Because commodities, as volatile as they can be, they never go to zero. And so you have this undertone, not so much an undertone, but you have an underlying asset. It's like in the oil business. Oil companies are not the price of crude. Oil companies are, the price of crude plus the amount of material that they have, plus the equipment and knowledge that they have. And, a company like Kinross being so close is the same thing. I'm sure that Mike and Greg will remember this, when we had one of the Permian Basin oil companies that we did business with here and had them on the radio on a fairly regular basis. But Marathon came in and bought all of the surrounding properties, and the difference was our company was paying, I don't know if these are the numbers, but this is approximately the way it looked. We were paying $8,000 an acre, and they bought the properties surrounding us for $18,000 an acre. So, you always have that underlying asset that can be revalued. And let's face it, you're taking stuff out of the ground. If you do it more slowly, or if you stop because the prices, have collapsed, so what? I mean, you're not losing it because it's not there. You're just being economical and not paying to take it out when it's not profitable. But the bottom line is, if you own the property, if you're not just leasing a claim, you have an underlying asset. And that's very powerful for especially some of these smaller junior companies who, overnight double or triple. I mean, I see in the GXX chart, in July and August, the stock was 7 or 8 cents, and then it literally doubled in a period of 3 weeks, up to the 15, 16 cent area. So that's generally not. The company didn't double in size and profit there, but something happened, and it could have been just the realization of a revaluation. But that happens all the time. That's how these little ones go from, pennies to dollars.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, we don't want to get Chris in any trouble here. Tell us a little bit about his stock and stuff for Examen.
Well, say again?
Sorry, go ahead.
What's the symbol for Examen again?
XXMMF.
XXMMF. Okay. Let's see if I can get it here.
We got 23 million shares out. We own all our assets 100%. We got stock in both of these other beautiful little joint venture partners, and
and it seems to be consolidating in this 10 to 12 cent area. Looking at it in the longer term.
Yes, and you'll see that I've been buying quite a bit. You can see that on
which
my
is
inside report.
one of my favorite things about any stock, because there are 100 reasons for an insider to sell. Tax planning, estate planning, they need money. It's really only one reason why management buys stock, and that's because they think it's going up. And so, yes, insider buying is a dramatic positive. So we're down here near the lows. I see you did a 1 for 5 around the first of the year, or
Yes.
in January in any event. And after that we had that nice rise from 12 to 45 cents before it calmed down into the area that it's trading at right now, which again is, a consolidation that runs from 10.2 to about 13, 12.7. So, the stock is sitting here pretty much on a pretty major double bottom with the 2015 numbers in the late portion of 2015. And it won't take much. Obviously, the place that it has to get through, if it gets through about 17 and a half or 18 cents, it has a pretty solid shot of being back in that 35, 40 cents. So, it depends upon how the story gets told. If the story gets told as there are assets here and we're not in it, we don't care if you trade it from 12.7 to 14.1. Plenty of people trade these kind of stocks this way. I never have a problem with that because it creates liquidity in the stock. You have both buyers and sellers all the time. But if you look at it on the longer-term basis, what are you talking about? You're talking about buying a 12.7 cent stock where you have a pretty solid stop beneath it at 9 cents. So,
Well, let me phrase it to you this way, okay? We've paid millions of dollars, and I've paid $1 million just for the assets, right, that we own, and I don't think our market cap is even there, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
we've got we're one of the larger shareholders in GGX, right? And we're one of
Right.
the largest shareholder in NED, and we own all the underlying assets in those 100%. And we got stock and cash payments coming in, and then we own the Brett, which Brett was part of a company called Corona. I don't know if you remember Murray Peasant back in the day. He was.
I'm not as old as Mike.
He found Hemlo and
Oh,
Hemlo
Charles.
and Jay Creek and- yeah. But anyways, the Brett project it's had millions and millions of dollars in development spent on it. It's got a 1,300-foot portal. It's got an open pit that's been done and bulk sample tested at the trail mill. It's got a 96% recovery on the gold. It's an epithermal system. I've spent $7 million.
Is there a 43101 on this?
Oh yeah, there's a 43101 on there. Yeah, and the company.
Well, that's also a huge positive because that's, most people won't understand that, but the 43101 is a document that any of the bigger and better Canadian mining companies have to produce, and it talks about everything from how much they feel they have in reserves to the economics of taking it out and moving it to sale, and what I mean. It's a very expensive and comprehensive document, and for a little company like this to have one is, a giant feather in the cap. Giant.
Wow. Well, Chris, we've only got a couple minutes left. What are you looking at down the road here?
Well, we're just we're going to take the Examen. We're going to be starting a market here, in shortly this fall, and we got booked into the Munich show in Germany, and we're all set up on both for Germany and on the OTC now, exactly for Examen. We got some news coming forth here, and we'll be putting some news out into the market. So I anticipate that if we can get things going and get the word out there to the marketplace, and we get a little wind at our backs from the excitement in the gold market, that hopefully we'll do as you say and break that 17-cent barrier, right, and be on our way.
Wow.
But I mean, I got when we're sitting here and we don't have a gun to our head about anything, I'm happy to buy my own stock over and over and over again because I know the value's here, right? And you can go on and look at the insider buying. You can see my buying in there. I'm in there buying and picking away at it all the time. So,
and the interesting part of that, and an important factor in that, is it's not stock for trading. It's stock for owning, because if you buy the stock as an insider and you sell it within, 6 months, the money has to go to the company, not the individual.
Yep.
So, that's also a very big positive.
Yeah. Well, Chris, hey, don't be a stranger, and Charles and Mike will be talking with you guys next week. Money Info rolls on here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie. WPSL on Alexa, Google Home, and Echo. WPSL, Port St. Lucie.